Huge welcome to everybody who's joining live and also to everybody who's going to watch on catch up during the week. I've had lots of fantastic emails, which is really good to know that people are interested to watch. Becoming your story, transforming your writing with creative journaling. This has been a project I've been working on for the whole of this year. It's based on lots of the blogs I've written, and I also spent a month away in Spain in the summer writing lots more material and particularly writing lots of writing exercises. So we're going to do a taster of that in this workshop this evening. A little bit about me. I'm Jan Fortune and I run Becoming a Different Story. My aim on that blog is to share a passion for the writing life and to help others develop their writing at all stages. And you can get in touch with me anytime, jan@janfortune.com. A little bit about housekeeping, just to make sure that the video goes according to plan as much as any technology will ever allow. So to make things run smoothly, if you mute your sound on the Zoom app, which may be at the bottom left, mine seems to be at the top right at the moment, but wherever it's appearing, if you mute your sound on that, but make sure that your computer sound is on so that you can actually hear the video. And then during feedback, you'll be able to join by clicking the chat symbol, which again might be in your bottom bar or it might be on a top bar. Sometimes it's in the more section. So if you've got 3 dots with more on it, you might find the chat in there. And if you press on that and then type into the bottom of the right-hand chat panel and press enter, that should make the chat work. So, a bit of context. I run, as many of you will know, Cinnamon Press. I've authored lots of novels, poetry collections, and numerous articles. I've edited over 300 books and taught writing courses across Europe. I blog about the writing process, the writing life, and journaling. And I know how hard it can be to fit all of that into a busy life. And most of us don't have the luxury of being full-time writers. Most of us also have to hold down a day job or do lots of other things or parent, 1,000,001 calls on our time. And it's so easy for the creative life and the writing to fall off the agenda. So one of my passions in life is creating resources that help writers to make sure that that's not going to happen. In particular, I've been journaling pretty much all my life, and I really do know it's a powerful tool. Journaling can really inspire your writing, push you beyond your boundaries, and improve your craft. It helps you to dive deep into your writing process and your flow, and it helps you to become the writer you want to be. And that's what I'd really love to share with lots and lots more writers. So today, you're going to leave this workshop with hopefully the inspiration to push your writing boundaries and take your writing practice to a new level. And it doesn't matter what stage we're at as writers, no matter how expert we've become, no matter how many books we've written, no matter how long we've been doing it, there's always new boundaries, there's always somewhere new to push to. So this workshop is for anyone who wants to free the imagination and to add depth and urgency to their writing. It's for anyone who's new to journaling or wanting to re-engage with it, or just to make a really big commitment to regular journaling practice that goes way beyond the ordinary. And it's for anyone who wants to expand the boundaries of their creativity. Getting strange messages from Zoom, so I'll just see if I can get rid of those. But the workshop will enable you to be clear about how your journaling can underpin your writing, to create a sense of congruence between your writing and your life, and to have a sense of your own creativity and how far you've come, as well as the path ahead. So let's dive into some of those things. At the end of the workshop, I'm going to be offering a discount on the full Becoming Your Story course. So if that's something of interest, make sure you stay around to the end, or just enjoy the workshop. It's completely up to you. So what we're going to be covering in terms of creative writing in this part of the workshop is we're going to look at reasons to journal for creativity, how to integrate writing and life, and we're going to do a really fun exercise called mapping your creativity. So let's get started. Why journal? This is what Virginia Woolf says. The habit of writing thus, for my own eye only, is good practice. It loosens the ligaments. I really love that, the ligaments of writing, and how when we journal, when we just write for something that's completely private, that we're not going to be pushing out into the world, we can really take risks, and we often really find our writing flying. So that's why Virginia Woolf journals, and I think that's a pretty fantastic reading. We can also journal for inspiration. The journal can often be somewhere we go back to and we dig out little nuggets. And this is what Joan Didion says about times when she's feeling stuck and she goes back to the journal. On that bankrupt morning, I will simply open my notebook, and there it will be, a forgotten account with accumulated interest, paid passage to the world out there. So that kind of bridge that we can use the journal for is another really exciting reason. These are some of the ways that I use my journal. Random thoughts and observations. I use it a lot for notes on books I'm reading. I write out goals endlessly and quests and how long they have, what kind of time frame. I journal every day about just how the day's gone, the week's gone, the month's gone, the year's gone. I keep my to-do lists in it, and I think I reflect very deeply. I also put an enormous amount of shallow thought dumping in the journal. Journals are great places to get rid of all that emotion that you don't want to dump on anything else but an inanimate page. It's great for travelogues. It's great as a record of dreams and what they might mean to you. You can use it for writing exercises, ideas for books, stories, poems, blogs. So let's just take a moment, and if you've got a bit of paper, you can jot something down. If you haven't, you can come back to this on catch up and do it later. List all the ways you might use journaling. It's really interesting to just think of the ways that you might use a journal. Perhaps you already do use a journal like this. Or perhaps there are other ways that could be explored. So as I say, you'll be able to come back to that on catch up. One of the things that I find really exciting about the journaling is how it captures hopes and dreams. It's a space where you can really take yourself seriously as a writer, and what you really hope and what you really dream, it's all private. Journal's also a really fantastic place to get that equilibrium between the hopes and the expectations and the dreams and the progress you've already made. So often we're pushing ourselves all the time. We're always after the next goal, the next quest, the next project. And we can spend our lives in that way getting quite overwhelmed. We can think it all has to be done by last Friday and we've already failed. So a journal is a place to address that and get some kind of balance. Yes, you always want to be pushing your boundaries. Yes, there's always a new quest. But there's also how much you've already achieved. And it's always much more than you think you have. So a journal is a good place for that balance between what we might call the gap and the gain. There's a gap between the person we want to be, the writing we want to have written. There's also the gain, the person you already are, everything you've already done, everything you've already written. And a journal's a good place for looking back on that. So holding those two in balance is a fantastic way to use your journal. It's also a great way to integrate writing and life. And it's a question I get quite a lot. Why does the writing life matter? Why isn't it just about what I put down on the page, what I want to get into the world? Why does it matter what kind of person I am, who I am as a writer. Well, I believe when your writing is congruent with your values and who you are, then your writing life becomes so much more authentic. You have more compassion, you have more insight into the human condition, and that strengthens your writing. I'm not alone in this. You'll find lots of writers who've journaled who talk a great deal about personal development as well as their writing development, and how those two really do go hand in hand. Who we are shows up in what we write. So if you want to push your writing boundaries, you need to push your personal boundaries. You need values that are congruent with what you want to put into the world. Writers are doing important, mythic work. So it's important that we look at ourselves as much as we observe the world. So here's another exercise. Try this. Where do you encounter your past self? Where is it you bump into yourself? You might already have a backlog of journals. You might have photographs or old videos, all kinds of ways. It might be in what people say about you, what people remind you about from the past. Where do you encounter your past self? And what are the ways you're most dissatisfied with yourself? Why? You're probably going to need lots more time to come back to this, but it's interesting to start thinking about this now. And then think, if this was someone else you were writing about, would you be so judgmental? Are you as harsh with other people as you are with yourself? So the question then becomes, how can you be honest with yourself without putting yourself down, while remaining kind to yourself? It's not about just letting the ego run wild or saying you don't need to change. But if you aren't basically merciful to yourself, you're unlikely to be kind to anyone else either. So how do you balance that honesty and kindness? Think about all the ways you're a better self now than you used to be 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, maybe last week. Maybe you've just made a big leap forward. As I say, you'll need to come back to this and it'll be on catch up, so don't worry if you haven't been able to get all of that down in 30 seconds, but that's an exercise to come back to. Journaling is a powerful way to create the writer you want to become. That's what that journaling exercise helps to demonstrate. And this is how Susan Sontag puts it. Superficial to understand the journal as just a receptacle for one's private, secret thoughts, like a confidant who is deaf, dumb, and illiterate. In the journal, I do not just express myself more openly than I could to any person. I create myself. The journal is a vehicle for my sense of selfhood. It represents me as emotionally and spiritually independent. Therefore, alas, it does not simply record my actual daily life, but rather, in many cases, offers an alternative to it. I think that's a really fantastic thought, the way the journal can offer us an alternative to who we are, and we can start to put those two things closer and closer and closer together. The writing life demands congruence between your values and your actions. It demands that your desires, beliefs in what can happen, and self-confidence all get into line with each other. So another thing to think about and to write about later. What story, whether it's prose, poetry, non-fiction, a mixture, memoir, what story do you want to write? What's your writing project at the moment? What's the big thing that's gripping you or is about to grip you? Who will you have to be to write that story? Think about that from as many angles and as deeply as you possibly can. Who will you have to be to write that story? Remember, this workshop is about finding the inspiration to push your writing boundaries and take your practice to a new level. So sometimes you need to be asking yourself really demanding questions. So a bit of a break from the intensity, mapping your creativity. This one is based on a Judy Reeves exercise, and I want you to think about what are all the ways in which you create. There are going to be many, many, many more ways than you initially feel at the top of your brain. So when people ask you about all the ways in which you're creative, you might have a sudden blank, but you are creative. What are all the ways in which you create? In Wild Women, Wild Writing, Judy Reeves offers this simple, really powerful tool for mapping creativity. Basically, you take a bunch of coloured pens and you write down all the ways you remember being creative right from childhood, and that might be making dens and making mud pies or sewing little patchwork bags or drawing pictures. Keep going. There will be so many more than you first imagine, and the coloured pens are a great way to put different sorts of creativity into different colours and to start linking things together and just make it a fantastically wonderful, random, messy map of all the ways in which you are creative. Come back to this. It's lots of fun. And this is another one. This is a way of, again, drawing and writing at the same time. And it's about thinking about your creative pathway. So you could take a double-page spread in a journal, or you could get yourself a really big sheet of paper and draw a line that represents your path through life. It can be really, really wiggly. It can be really, really straight. Let the path go off the page somewhere near the end of your present story. And then start making marks on it. Put on some significant moments, put on ambitions, put on values, put on significant books and stories and milestones in your writing. You can decorate it with anything you want, from your past, from your present. It's a pathway. And don't overthink it, just let it flow. If you do it another day, it will look different. That's absolutely fine, because your creativity is endless. And then on a new page, draw, where does your path lead? And then describe that destination in detail. What do you want to achieve? What books do you want to read? What books do you want to write? Who's the person you will be to do this? Again, that's one to come back to. And you can do this over and over, do it at several month intervals, and you'll find it's always changing, and your sense of yourself as a creative person is always developing. To sum up, it's vital to be clear about how journaling can be the foundation for your writing, to create congruence between your writing and your life, and to have confidence in your creativity as you move forward. So that's huge amounts to take in. If anybody's got any questions that they want to pop in the chat box, now is an opportunity to do that. This is often a very quiet space during workshops. It is lovely to have questions. I launched A Remedy for All Things at a bookshop in Hungary last night in Budapest, and at the end there were questions and people sat in silence quite a while until somebody bravely started, and then questions just flowed and flowed and flowed, and we were there for quite a while, which was fantastic. Okay, not seeing any questions, which is absolutely fine. You can always drop me questions as well by email, don't forget. So, small steps. All of this can sound overwhelming, but it's not if you break it down. Small steps add up to big changes. So I'd like you to leave this workshop with a plan. And this is the beginning of the plan. As soon as you log off, do the journaling exercise to map your awesome creativity. It's lots of fun. You can draw all kinds of wonderful, messy maps, and it's a real confidence boost. And then write about this. When are you going to journal? How long each day can you give it? Where will you need to be to have the quiet space to do it? And then put it into your calendar. If it's 15 minutes every morning or a little bit of snatch time in a park at lunch break, whenever it is, put it in your calendar with a time, and every day tick off that you've done it. Don't worry about the days when you don't do it. Tomorrow's always another day. We always start afresh. But as you see that building up, it really makes a difference, and you begin to take yourself more and more seriously as a writer. So I hope you're going to take away a few practical ideas about journaling. And I'd also like to talk a little bit about the course that I've just launched online. Becoming Your Story is a course designed to help you push your boundaries as a writer whilst thinking deeply about your writing practice and your writing life. It's got a big chunky PDF book, which, as I say, I've been working on all of this year. There are 67 audio files, and there are 111 creative writing journaling exercises that will take you through the course and enrich your writing practice and widen its scope. There's lots and lots packed into the course, into the audio, into the writing exercises. It's feasible to do it in 4 months. It's absolutely fine to take much longer. It's a big course, so you can take as long as you want with you. And I have an offer on the course. It's always really exciting to be at the beginning of launching a course, and I want lots of people to be able to do it. So if you're someone who's looking to enrich your writing practice and widen its scope, no matter how experienced you are as a writer, if you're in search of powerful tools to inspire your writing and your life as a writer and want to discover routes into journaling that go way beyond just goal setting or keeping lists, if you want to and aspire to dive deeper into your writing process and flow, and you're ready to commit to the writer you've always wanted to become, then this is definitely the course for you. If you've resonated with books and courses like Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way, Judy Reeves' A Writer's Book of Days, Anne Lamott's Bird by Bird, or Writing Down the Bones by Natalie Goldberg, then I think you're definitely in the right place. And I think you'll love Becoming a Difference, Becoming Your Story. And as I said, I want to celebrate the launch with a thank you to all those who follow my blog and are attending this workshop. So for the next week, it's going to be on offer for $197. The normal price is $297. And if, like me, you don't live in dollars, you live in a different currency, PayPal will do all the magical conversion for you. So if you're in pounds, for instance, that's around £150. And whatever currency you're buying in, it will do the conversion, and it's about 30% discount. But it's only there for the next 7 days. You can get Becoming Your Story on my website, and I'll send an email after this with the link and with the discount code. So don't worry if you miss it at the moment. But if you do get it down, the discount code is EYS1, and you just add that at checkout and the website will take care of the rest. I realise people don't always want to spend everything all in one block, and that's absolutely fine. So if it's easier for you to pay in instalments, there's a 3-monthly instalment plan, which makes it $75 a month, which is a total of $225. Normally the full price for the subscription is $327. So again, it's about a 30% discount. You won't need a code for that. The reduced subscription price is just there on the website, and that will just happen when you press it. But it will only be on the site for the next 7 days. So if you would like to take advantage of doing it by subscription and paying by 3 monthly installments, then make sure you do that soon. As I said earlier, I've been working with writers for a long time, and running Cinnamon Press for the last 13 years. And this is a bit of feedback from a couple of people I've worked with in the past. This is David Batten. A gratifying, fulfilling, and enjoyable experience. Jan's mentoring of my first manuscript was sensitive, rigorous, and sympathetic. And you can read other testimonials on the website or come and have a look on Catch Up. So, what next? In case there are any final questions, I'll have a little pause in a moment, or do email me. But just a reminder, you'll be able to access all of this on replay. So if you haven't got all of the writing workshop and the exercises down, don't worry about it. You'll be able to go through them again and you'll be able to pause it. So the replay is always a good way to stop it and go at your own pace. And I'll send you an email with the link. Don't forget, you can also sign up for Becoming Your Story with a 30% discount. So it'll be $197 and you just need to add in the code BYS1 at checkout. Or you can sign up for $75 for 3 months and do it on installments as a subscription. And if you do have any questions after this or at any time, the email is jan@janfortune.com. So, before we finish, are there any final questions? Oh, I think actually... somebody asked, I wonder why it's useful to ask why I'm dissatisfied about myself. That's a fantastic question. Oh, it's Natasha. Thank you, Natasha. Okay, why ask why you're dissatisfied about yourself? I think writers are people who always have that itch. We're always scratching something. We're always trying to find out more about the meaning of life, about why we're here, about how human beings tick. We read novels and poetry because we're fascinated by people. So very often we're people who are in constant process. And that can sometimes make us feel quite dissatisfied. It can sometimes make us feel like we're chasing the quest. So I think we kind of need to be honest about what our dissatisfactions are so that we can both set goals that are realistic and not just going to drive us insane, and also so that we can take a step back and say, would you talk to somebody else like this? Would you be this judgmental of somebody else? How do we start showing kindness to ourselves? So I think owning our dissatisfaction is the first step to that kindness and to the kind of resonance we have on a deeply humane, compassionate level. And I don't know about you, but I find the writers I read who have compassion, who are not just writing unempathic characters who they just want to have a go at. I find those are the writers I want to read. That's not to say we don't write flawed characters and that we don't write out of our flaws, but I think as we come to know our own dissatisfactions and to know that we are limited and flawed, but hey, we can still be kind, we can still show some mercy, then we get nearer to being those kinds of compassionate writers, people like Michael Ondaatje, who just writes the most beautiful, flawed, but understandable and totally relatable characters. And Beth has asked earlier if there will be any personal contact or whether it's all by PDF and audios and writing exercises. At the moment, I've got all of that up online, and so that journey is kind of yours to keep. I'm always available on email, and I'm always very happy to have questions. So if things arise as you're writing, or you just have a great success, or you're feeling a bit stuck with something, absolutely reach out and say, I could do with a bit of help with this, or I'm not quite understanding this. I'm always basically available. I mean, obviously, if it's a million emails a day, that's going to get overwhelming. But most people are sensible and they know when to reach out and when they're stuck and when they need that bit of extra help. So definitely do access the email if you need it. Thank you. Two excellent questions. Thank you, Beth. And okay. Any more questions arising? Oh, somebody else says, just Heather. How do you manage when pushing your own personal boundaries? Fantastic questions. It's really hard, isn't it? Because we don't always see ourselves in the way other people see us. And so it's quite easy to kind of get into a state where we're not really quite sure. I think one of the things about the privacy of a journal is that we start to look back at ourselves almost as it's somebody else, because in a way, identity is so fluid, it is somebody else. So we start to see that we are pushing our personal boundaries by doing that gain as well as gap. It's not just about, oh God, I need to do this, I need to push this, I need to be this, I need to be more of this. But we can also start to look back with a journal and say, you know what, I did that, and that has changed. Sometimes when I look back at my journal, I think I'm writing the same moaning diatribes over and over for several months, and then suddenly something will change. And if I look back at something from a year ago or 2 years ago, it's a different person. So we do it in the flow. We're not always conscious of it, but I think if we're always striving and always working and always open to the questions that are coming at us and ready to observe the world and ourselves and our processes, then those boundaries get pushed. And in retrospect, when we look back at them, we think, yeah, I did that. Those boundaries have been pushed. Right, where to next? Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much for really challenging, really thought-provoking questions. I think this is a group that would, asking those kinds of questions, you would get a lot out of the journaling course. So I hope you'll be able to sign up for that. Thank you so much for attending. It's been really exciting to launch this here in Budapest. I'll email you very soon with full details about how you can sign up for the 30% discount, but you can just use the code on the website BYS1 or go straight to the subscription offer. A reminder, you can contact me anytime at jan@janfortune.com, and I'll also put in the email a link to this workshop so that you'll be able to see. Oh, that's fantastic. I've just got a lovely little comment from Caroline. Thank you to Jan as co-becomer. I love that, co-becomer. It's definitely a mouthful, but I want to keep that. Thank you very much, Caroline. And very excited to be working with such an exciting group of writers who really are pushing their boundaries. Thank you for your thanks as well, Heather and Beth and Sonia. Lots of insights and food for thought. And just to mention, something that I am in the process of doing on my website at the moment, which isn't advertised yet, is I'm trying to set up a little internal social media. It won't be something that goes out to the world at all. It will be an internal private forum, which will be a place where people can share insights and share how these journeys are going and talk to each other. I've yet to get my head around all the technical bits for that, and so that's probably something that will happen after Christmas, but do keep an eye out for that as well, because it would be lovely for people like this who've shared in the workshop this evening to be able to talk to each other and to do so in a place that's private and safe. So thank you all very much. Final reminder, jan@janfortune.com. If you have any questions, in the meantime, I'll email you all soon. Huge thanks for joining.